I finally did it. I put all of this velocity banking with credit card stuff into a spreadsheet for you. We're going to go over what that looks like in just a second. I know a lot of people struggle with which card they're going to use, how much they should pay, and which paycheck they'll use to pay the cards. The spreadsheet also has a paycheck planner, so there's no more going in and having to plan these things on paper if that's difficult for you. There is one thing that I would still suggest doing, and that's using a planner. That way you can go in and cross off all of your bills as they've been paid to make sure that you don't forget about anything. The planner is always a super helpful tool. Now let's take a look at the spreadsheet and go over how it works. This is the credit card cash flow planner. There are a few different tabs, but this is going to track all of your credit cards, your payments, your statement dates, your limits, your utilization percentages, and things like that. This here is your velocity banking budget setup, which will be super helpful for you. The one negative to using Google Sheets is I could not lock the cells with the formulas in it. So before you do anything, go in and make a copy of this spreadsheet. Just click File and then make a copy. You can name it whatever you want here, but you do want to make sure that you have a copy of this just in case your formulas do get messed up in some of those cells. Just click the Make a Copy button right here. Now, as far as setting up this spreadsheet, what you're going to want to do first is go to the Budget Setup tab at the bottom. We're going to have to fill in the budget first before we do anything else. That way the numbers calculate the way we want them to. The first thing we want to do is enter our monthly income. You're going to always enter this manually as well as the total debt last month. Then the debt total for last month, the first thing that we do before we go in and edit the spreadsheet every month is take the total from this month and then put it in the total from last month. After your first month of doing this, you'll have the total debt amount for that month. You just move that number up into that top column. The green box will calculate your difference in your debt amounts between those 2 months. Remember, all of the colored cells contain formulas, so you only want to edit information in the boxes that are white unless you're entering a credit card name here. Now, if we scroll down, you'll see the rest of the budgeting setup. You go in to list any of your expenses, put them in by the date that they are due in that order. This is going to make it a lot easier on you. What some people do is they go in and they list things randomly by the dates that they're due, and that really is not helpful at all. And this goes for all of your expenses in any of these columns on this spreadsheet. Now, under the expense column, you're going to go in and list whatever your expense is. In this case, let's say it's a mortgage and the payment is $2,000. With this column here, you put the balance if it's a debt. So a mortgage more than likely has debt, but if it's a rent payment, there would be nothing entered in this box. Then, this is the fun part. You can go over to this drop-down menu and decide how you're going to make each one of these payments. Your mortgage would be a cash expense. But for your other expenses, you could go in and pick any one of your credit cards that you're going to pay that bill with. We have 16 credit cards listed here and then no payment due if it doesn't require a payment. Now let's enter a few more bills here just so you can see what happens on that credit card cash flow planner when we put these numbers in. You can see all of these colors over here in the credit card column are the same as the colors that are listed over here on the numbers of each credit card, so that should be helpful as well. And the more you use this, the more used to those colors you'll get, and you might recognize the card just based off of a color. In this credit card column, we have a space for the due date, the statement date, the name of the credit card, the minimum payment, the balance, and the limit. Now again, this has a column for the credit card balances, so this is going to calculate in that total debt amount at the top. So if we look at these amounts here and then scroll back up to the top, you can see it's accounted for there. And of course, always remember to list your credit card minimum payments for each of your credit cards. Now, if we go back up here to the numbers at the top, the amount available to pay to the credit cards does not account for the minimum payment. So you have to make sure that that number covers the minimum payment amount here. Next column that we have is the loan column here. Again, you enter the payment. More than likely, all of these are going to be cash expenses. With the miscellaneous spending, make sure that you're accounting for all of your extra spending. It's very easy to forget things. And again, here you can go in and decide how you're going to pay each one of those. Here at the bottom, we have the medical column. Again, you can pick how you're going to pay those. If you don't have medical expenses, you could use this for something else, maybe business expenses or rentals if you have those. Then if we go back up a little bit, we have the savings column, and those would be cash expenses as well. Now back up here at the top, before we go to the cash flow planner, this available to pay to credit cards does transfer over to the cash flow planner. You can see that $4,000 up here at the top. We go back and look at that budget setup again. You can see the available to pay to the credit cards there was $4,000, and it's also $4,000 over here, which is what we want. Then we have the total amounts being paid, which does come from this spreadsheet here. Remember, on this spreadsheet, you only want to enter your information in the gray boxes. All of the colored boxes contain formulas. That's going to be a little more tough on this spreadsheet, so again, make a copy if you need to. Now with each credit card here, we can enter the limit, the current balance, and it will calculate the utilization. We can also enter the interest rate, and that will be calculated into the payment here. We also have a spot where you can add an additional payment. You can go in and change this. It is one of the gray boxes, and the total to pay will update. Then remember, we wait for the statements to close. At the lower amount, this should be the new utilization. Then it will show you the total amount of bills and spending going back on the card. And it will also show you the dollar amount that the balances will go down. And it does this for each card individually. And then at the top, it does it overall. Now, another cool feature that we have is the paycheck planner. If you get paid weekly, you'll have 4 paychecks. If you get paid bi-weekly, you'll only have 2. The cash expenses for this planner, you will have to go in and enter them manually, the amount for each paycheck. It does not calculate that automatically for you. So you would just switch back over to the budget setup, go through, look at your cash expenses and the day that you're paying them on compared to when your pay dates are. In this case, let's just say it was that $2,000 mortgage that was the cash expense for the first paycheck. Now we'll also have to go in and enter the paycheck amount. I think we said the total income was $6,000, so let's do $3,000 every other week. Now you can see this is going to calculate your paycheck amount, your cash expenses, the amount being paid to the cards, and then the remaining amount that's left over after that. Now watch what happens when we go in and adjust this additional payment amount to this credit card here. You can see the total to pay changed as well as the new utilization, but these numbers up here in the paycheck planner also updated as well. Now for each card, you can go in and plan which paycheck you're going to use to fund the payment on that card. Now you can see the numbers up here change when we switch the paycheck that we're going to use for each card. If we switch this back to paycheck number 2, you can see the numbers up there again in the paycheck planner changing. There are 16 credit cards listed in this cash flow planner, and you can assign all of them to one of your paychecks. Now remember, you only want to edit the things that are in the gray boxes. Everything else has a formula and you really don't want to mess those up. If you happen to make a mistake, watch what happens here. This column has a formula. Let's say we accidentally mess that up, but we realize it immediately. Click out of it and then go up to the top and click the undo button, and that should bring your formula back. But this is super easy to do, which is why I suggest you make a copy and kind of double check your numbers as you're going through this. If something seems off, make sure that you double check it. Now, if we look back up here at the top again, we have the amount to pay to the credit cards, we have the amount being paid to the cards this month, and then we have the amounts that the balances should go down. Now, if we look down here at the bottom, we have a payment planner chart. This is basically the same thing as the cash flow planner. It's just in a chart form. Now, same thing with this chart. You only want to change items in the gray boxes. And you can see this chart has the same information as the cash flow planner. I personally like the cash flow planner better than this chart, but you can use either one. It does the same thing. So if we enter an additional payment here, it's going to update just like the other cash flow planner does. But remember, only change the information in the gray boxes on this as well. You do not need to use the cash flow planner and this payment planner chart. You only need to use one of them. You can delete the one that you prefer not to use. The one main difference between this chart and the cash flow planner is the cash flow planner has the paycheck planner. The chart does not have this. So if the paycheck planner is something that you're really wanting to use, you're not going to want to use the chart. You are definitely going to want to use that cash flow planner. But anyway, this should be a really helpful tool. I know a lot of you have been requesting this, and I'm sorry that it took so long. But if you want to get this, go to my channel page. You'll see the link where you can go to my Stan store, and that's where you can purchase it. If you have any questions about this spreadsheet, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to help.